Hello and welcome to Book Trek 2024, my update, my book hauls, and a few extra books. So yes, this definitely should be the last book haul, and you'll understand why in just a few seconds. So first off, Book Trek. What is it? I found out about this on Read by Fred. Love that uniform. Reminds me of Data, one of my favorite characters from Star Trek Next Generation. The event was created by Vin at Revenant Reads. Please go check out both of their channels. The event, this is year number 4, which I think is amazing, and because I'd been in other areas of YouTube, this is the first year that I'll be participating and that I've heard about it. So I was very excited, as if you had seen my live stream the other day, I am definitely original Star Trek. I was born in 1964, so this is the one that I began with. I remember coming home from school, excited to see the episodes. In high school, a few of my friends and I each had a character nickname. I was Spock, and not because I was the brightest bulb, but in any case, Spock was definitely my favorite character. And the other day, I was going through this magazine, which is all that I had when I heard about the Book Trek event. Thus began my trips to the local thrift store, and as I learned, these books go very quickly. So when you can find them, you grab them. The one that I did find, and this was in, I think, 2 book hauls ago, Star Trek Probe. This is by Margaret Wander Bonanno, and I started this on Friday. I go to live streams at Ginger Bibliophile, where she does reading sprints, and we have chats and get to see her cute fur babies. I'll leave a link to all the channels that I've mentioned down below. Be sure to check them out. In the live stream, I also mentioned that this connects to the 4th movie. And yes, I do have all the original Star Trek movies and the Next Generation movies, and I've seen them more than once. So I may be watching all of those again. The event goes from June through till August, so I'll see whether I watch the movies again. But I was trying to find where this author was mentioning how this is after the 4th movie during my live stream, and I just couldn't find it because I didn't open the inside of the book. Now this was published in 1992, and the historian's note inside, Probe takes place sometime prior to Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. The events of Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, are also pivotal to the story, and the reader may wish to view it as a referent. I remember quite well the story about the probe and the whales and going back in time, so I'm very much looking forward to finding out where this is going to go, but I'm just a few pages in. The other book that I managed to find during that same visit was Star Trek Voyager. This is Mosaic, and it's written by Jerry Taylor. I also enjoyed Voyager. I think it was great that they had a female captain. She was a strong character, and I actually remembered her from being Mrs. Columbo. I'm pretty sure that was the previous role. So she was an actress I've enjoyed watching, and she did a great job in Voyager. So I'm looking forward to that. As I had mentioned before, I was very sad because years ago I used to have the original Star Trek novels. They were written by Alan Dean Foster, and I know that because yesterday, so Sunday, I had this little niggle to go to the thrift store one more time and see if I could find some more Star Trek books, because in all my trips, those were the only two that I managed to find. And ta-da! Yesterday, I found the series that I had unhauled. I found all of them but episode 9, log number 9. So I am super excited. They were $3 each, so an excellent buy, and there was no way I was passing that up. So I guess the universe heard me, and I now have the original books that I had unhauled. They're not the same books I unhauled because it was decades ago. And as you can see, the covers are a bit different. The series that I had covers like this. So I have log number 1. Those are all by Del Rey. And then I also have some that are Ballantine science fiction. So the covers are a bit different, and I'm good with that because I was super stoked to find them. And they also had 3 piles of Star Trek Next Generation novels, but I've never read any of those. And I had to sort of behave. I had a nice bonus before I went shopping, so I knew what I could browse for. And when I was talking to the clerk as I was checking out, she was saying that when it comes to Star Trek books, if you see them, you're best to grab them or let them know that you're looking for them, and they'll put them aside for you because they go fast. So I have no idea whether those next generation ones will still be there next time. I have the original set that I really wanted to reread. So now I was excited about Book Trek before, but I'm like super stoked now to get back into characters that I grew up with, the stories that I enjoyed. So thank you so much, Vin, for creating this reading event. I am definitely a happy little camper. But of course, I didn't just end there. I found 2 other paperback novels. These are both based on the original Star Trek. The first is My Enemy, My Ally. Romulans board the Enterprise, and Kirk joins forces with his deadliest enemy. This is by Duane. And the other that I found, Crisis on Centaurus. This is by Brad Ferguson, and what caught my attention here is Enterprise to the rescue. Kirk must save both a planet and McCoy's daughter. I didn't remember McCoy having a daughter, and it was super funny. See, again, connection, synchronicity, because while I was glancing through the trivia magazine, which I haven't completely read yet, it does mention McCoy having a daughter. So when I saw that at the thrift store yesterday, I definitely needed to pick it up to check it out. The other finds, so if you're interested in Book Trek, that was pretty much my comment. Be sure to go check out Read by Fred for his updates. Check out Vin for more information about Book Trek and various things involved with that. And also be sure to check out Kat on Fridays, Ginger Bibliophile. Now, on to the rest of the book haul. I can behave. It was really bugging me that I didn't have those books anymore. Apparently the universe knew that and just went, here, we're going to make these available. Now, keep your katukas at home and get reading through the books, which I intend to do, and which I will be doing for the next while, because here in southwestern Ontario, the temperature has turned insanely cold. It is June the 10th. We're 11 days away from summer, and this morning my furnace was on. Nuts. But definitely not weather to go out and start digging up and planting things. I could still clear part of the jungle and taking up some things, but nah. I'm hoping that later this week it starts getting a bit warmer, and then I'll get back outside and back on track with that. But in the meantime, I'm putting together different episodes for my channel so that I can get them up and all set, which means on the other days, then I just focus totally on the yard work. Back to what else did I find after my big thrill with Star Trek? Yet another ghost book. This is Campfire Ghost Stories, The Haunting Tales. This is by Geordie Telfer. This is also from Ghost House. This is number 81. So slowly but surely, I'm definitely finding a number of books. I'm up to either 6 or 7 out of this series now. Very happy with that. Witchlight. This is by Marion Zimmer Bradley. Now, I read The Mists of Avalon. It's not a small read. I'd had it for years, finally read it, and it was okay. It wasn't my favorite read. I'm not sure if it was just the way she presented Morgana or the definite slant to the story. I had the second part to that, but I ended up not reading it. I unhauled both of those again years ago. But I decided to give her another try. Let me know if you've ever read Marion Zimmer Bradley, particularly Mists of Avalon, and what were your thoughts about it. I'm a big fan of anything King Arthur, Morgana, Merlin. I have a number of books on, oh, there they are. Yep. I have Stonehenge, I have King Arthur, I have books on Finding Merlin. It's a period I enjoy reading about, and that's kind of my historical part. A book that I did debate about rebuying was The 10th Insight. This is, again, by James Redfield. It connects with the Celestine Prophecy. This is called Holding the Vision, Further Adventures of the Celestine Prophecy. I remember the story fairly well. I love this cover and that image. So it will be something I will be reading, I think, for the 3rd, maybe the 4th time. And then eventually I'll be doing a Celestine Prophecy series. The other day I was watching a video, I can't remember from who now, sorry, but it was about Hell House. And this is from the author of I Am Legend, which I haven't read. And this is by Richard Matheson. An amazing cover there. For over 20 years, Belasco House has stood empty. Regarded as the Mount Everest of haunted houses, it is a venerable mansion whose shadowed walls have witnessed scenes of almost unimaginable horror and depravity. 2 previous expeditions to investigate its secrets met with disaster. The participants destroyed by murder, suicide, or insanity. Definitely not a light read, and it could have tied in beautifully with horror mayhem, but I can't wait a year to read this. And it actually, with the cover, it reminds me of my other book up here of Haunting, Anatomy of a Haunting, another book that I found in the science fiction section, The Dreamworld of H.P. Lovecraft, His Life, His Demons, His Universe, and this is by Donald Tyson. Now, I mentioned Lovecraft when I was doing my horror mayhem wrap-up. I'd read a couple of his stories. I have a small compendium of his stories. I don't have the box set of him yet. Still not sure whether I'm going to get that or not. I may just check my library and see if they have some of his other works. But I am fascinated to read about the individual. I'd seen a great episode on Prime. It was a biography about Lovecraft. He isn't someone who I would likely ever have tea with or hang out with, but he is an amazing writer. From the 4 stories that I've read, I enjoyed them. I read the Dunwich Horror decades ago, and I immensely enjoyed it. I just, for whatever reason, hadn't read any of his other works until recently. So I am interested in learning more about the author. The last book that I picked up, and I always make sure my hands are full because that kind of limits how much I can get at the thrift store. The Book of Signs, 31 Undeniable Prophecies of the Apocalypse. This is by Dr. David Jeremiah. Again, the covers are amazing, and all of the books I found are in pristine, excellent condition. Now, first off, I'm not someone who is into prophecies. As funny as that may sound for someone who reads tarot, I have oracle decks, I have runes, I work with animal guides, I believe in the paranormal, and with all of that, one might think I actually believe in prophecies. But on the other hand, I've also read a lot about the Aztecs, the Mayans, what happened when they thought Quetzalcoatl had come back, and how their populations were decimated by the Spaniards, and so much of their history and their beautiful works were lost, all because they believed that individual had fulfilled a prophecy. If they hadn't bought into that prophecy, things would have turned out very differently. Again, with the time period I was born, I've seen more charlatans than I can remember going on about the end times and this date, and they're always pushing it back and pushing it back and pushing it back. So I'm not a prophecy person, but I am curious what other people think and where they come up with those ideas. So this individual, your definitive guide to biblical prophecy. The apocalypse, the end times, the day of judgment, terms such as these are both fascinating and frightening for any student of God's Word. They point to key questions people have wrestled with for centuries. This will be an interesting read. As I've mentioned before, for me, and I just bought the Bible last year because it was after the Da Vinci Code spiral started happening, and I realized it would come in very handy. I don't know why I never made the connection between ancient Egypt and the Bible before, because I've been reading about Egypt for decades. But I decided to get a copy of the Bible so that I could cross-reference it when I was reading books about the Nephilim, ancient Egypt, the different things in the Da Vinci Code, etc. So for me, the Bible is a research tool. I believe it's a parable with some very important stories and lessons. So that's kind of where it's at for me. I am very much interested to read this individual's take on end times and all of that. I read a lot of different things, and not just by authors who think the way I do or agree with things that I think about. So, for example, Paranormality by Professor Weissman says paranormal is total bunk. But I wanted to read what was he presenting? Why did he think that? As I said, this should be the last book haul in a while. I have plenty of books to keep me going. They interconnect either with book events that I've been wanting to do or with some extra research on topics that I'm getting into. And just for giggles, I had also, and I love this shirt, Canada is like no otter. Very happy to be living in Canada these days. Not that we don't have our issues and our problems, but it's not a bad place to be. And the nice thing with this shirt, and I have another one that will tie in with another of my episodes down the road, but part of the money from this shirt also went towards a program to support students in schools. In any case, if you're still here, give me a thumbs up or a little smiley face, always much appreciated. Let me know if you're participating in Book Trek 2024, if you've read any of the authors that I've mentioned. Remember, if you enjoy bookish content, nature videos, or silly cats, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you know when I upload content that may be of interest to you. And until next time, take good care.